Hey guys, Ezra here and welcome back to another Ezra review. And on today's video, I want to review this movie called The Substance, which released on this month, I think, or I guess like September in United States. This movie didn't play on my theaters, but I do get it on streaming. And yeah, I decided to watch it, because I hear a lot of good stuff about the movie itself. This is a satirical body horror movies, and it stars Demi Moore, Margaretqualley, and Dennisquaid, and it's directed by Coralie Farget, I think, which is a French film director and writer. And yeah, I gotta say, man, I walk into this movie, or I guess watch this movie, basically just expecting it to be, a good horror movie, because that's what a lot of people said, but I did not expect to see how disgusting this movie will get, and how I guess interesting this movie was, especially talking about the beauty standard, for Hollywood and for actresses and stuff like that, which is something that happens to real life people, and yeah, so the basic premise about the movie is about this actress named Elizabeth, that basically already well basically past her prime time, and then I think she's like 50s now, and yeah, she used to be this big Hollywood stars, known for her beauty, and everybody just like praising her left and right, but that wasn't the case anymore, because she's getting old, and then her boss are just wanting to replace her with a younger actress, for the TV shows, and this eventually leads her to the substance, because she gets a call, or like a letter from the substance, and then they offer her that, oh, like if you want to to be better than yourself, or I guess create a better version of yourself, you can use the substance, and yeah, it's a pretty interesting movie, and that's the basic premise, and then obviously things gonna get super wild, because there is like two Elizabeth here that exists here, and even though that the movie tried to portray them as, you are one, there's only one Elizabeth, so like they're one of the same, but it seems like that wasn't the case as the movies goes on, and yeah, I would say that spoilers, for this movie review, guys, because if you guys haven't watched The Substance, then I suggest you guys go watch it first, because this movie is not for everybody, because there is some disgusting aspect about the movie, and that will turn people off, but I think most people will like it, especially with the theme of the movie, and if you guys love body horror movie like like David Cronenberg movies, I think you guys will love this, because that is also really disgusting, and yeah, so go watch The Substance first before you watch this review, because I will be talking some spoilers, especially about the ending, man, because holy shit, but yeah, so for the past, I guess most of this review will be some, positive aspect about the movie, because I don't think I have any negative stuff, I have some question that was left unanswered, I guess, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really affect the plot or the story, and yeah, because again, the main more characters, Elizabeth Sparkle, she uses the substance to create the better version of herself, and this version is named Sue, played by Margaret Qualley, and pretty much that you can tell that Sue is just like super excited, because she's young, she's beautiful, so she decided to audition on the same company that Elizabeth worked with, because again they share the same consciousness here. They are the one, right? You like they are one of the same, and obviously because of her beauty, she got her job, and then throughout this entire movie, things get a bit intense, with between Sue and Elizabeth here, because Sue basically enjoying her life, her younger life essentially, and then but there is this rule about the substance that they have to switch bodies, every 7 days, basically every single week they have to change bodies so they didn't like die or like they have any brutal side effects, and yeah, they basically have to feed the body using this like frozen food or something like that, and then of course they have to, I think for Zeus, she has to get the spinal fluid of Elizabeth, because in order to basically stabilize herself, and there's like 7 tubes that she could use for a week, but after a while, she basically break the rules here, because like on the 7th day she's supposed to switch back to Elizabeth, but she decided to stay for like a day longer, so it's like substance again, from Elizabeth's spinal cord, and then uses that on herself, and then eventually Elizabeth noticed the side effect because her finger is actually getting really old, basically rotting, because again, Sue breaks the rules, but she can bring herself to stop this substance, because like she is afraid to being alone here, and that's why she decided to continue with the substance, and that's how things get a bit more worse, because Sue is basically just keep getting basically not switching back to Elizabeth after a week, so like she's using a lot of her spinal cord fluid, and then eventually it was revealed that Elizabeth was actually dying, like half of her body is rotting, because Sue has been using her a lot, and she hasn't switched back in after 7 days, and there is some point in the movie where they actually did not switch back for like 3 months, and basically makes Elizabeth into a grandma, which I think has a great practical effects, every single time you see her as this grandma, and yeah, and speaking of the practical effects, this movie has the greatest, one of the greatest practical effects that I ever seen, because you see where Sue first emerged from Elizabeth's, bodies, like her spine's broke, and then you see like there's a second eye that's like basically on Elizabeth's eye, I think that was a cool effects, and yeah, this movie is pretty disgusting, because I feel like the practical effects are so well done, like when Sue appeared for the first time, that was great, and when demimoore like makeup, where she was actually basically rotting, like she was great, and obviously when she was becoming a grandma, that was great, that could be its own horror movies, where you have like, oh, like if someone can go to this abandoned house and there is like this disgusting grandma that just sits there and will kill you, like it feels like its own horror movies, but this time it's obviously it's a bigger part of the story, and because of this, Elizabeth tried to basically terminate it, Sue, basically tried to tell the substance voice, which, by the way, the substance has the coolest voice I ever heard, like I think it's just really it's interesting, because we don't get to see a lot of the substance, organization, we don't even know how big this organization was, but we all know there is a bunch of customer, because there is a number on the locker every single time Elizabeth tried to get the substance, and there is like a bunch of lockers there with numbers, so we can assume that there is a bunch of other people there that uses the substance, and it's even met one in the diner before, and that's pretty much like why things just goes wrong with this substance, because obviously one of the other person just wanted to stay along, like basically stay longer in their life, they didn't want to switch back for 7 more days, because it was just too quick for them or too long for them, and yeah, and eventually, this is interesting moment where Elizabeth tried to terminate, Sue, using the termination, injection, and then she decided to stop, because obviously she's afraid to being alone again, and she realized that there is a fame that Sue is actually having a lot of fame here, and obviously she's going to live the New Year's Eve, and she decided to stop the injection and then basically waking her up, basically switching bodies again. But interestingly enough, both of them actually wake up, so Sue is waking up, and also Elizabeth is right there, as a grandma, and they decide to fight, and yeah, it was a pretty intense fight, and I think the gore is pretty brutal, again, I cannot show that on this YouTube, because again, YouTube will demonetize my video, but it was pretty gory, but there is some comical moments as well, where she kicks Elizabeth throughout the room. I was like, damn girl, like how strong are you, but yeah, it's a really disturbing moments, and eventually Sue kills Elizabeth, but she basically doomed herself, because like, she needs the spinal fluid so she can survive, so she can stabilize herself, and now with the suppliers is gone, well, there is no turning back now, and she basically decided to go to the New Year's Eve party, and then eventually her body starts to fail, because again she doesn't have the stabilizer, and then she decided to goes back to her home, and then she decided to inject herself with the activator. I think that's the substance is called, that basically generate her other self, but this time it's actually Jennifer's, or I guess Elizabeth's, clone, I guess, that injected herself with the substance, and it created this grotesque looking monsters, with like a really weird face, and then there is also like another face in the back of his, in his back essentially, and it was so gross, and there's one point where it literally spilled out, or I guess I created tits, and it just falls down to the ground, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? That was so disgusting, and it's just like, again, this movie is really really weird, and you might think that I'm joking when I said that, but no, that actually happens in the movie, where the creature just like basically spawning out, or like spewing out, just a whole boobs, on the ground, and it's just so disgusting, and there's a lot of blood in the third act, where just like spraying blood everywhere throughout the audience, which I think, I mean, that was awesome, but also really disgusting, yeah, I think they have a really cool blood effect, and that's how the movie ends, where this other substance basically dies, because it wasn't meant to be used more than once, and then at least Elizabeth's face, in the back, managed to crawl into like the Hollywood fame star, and then she dies there, she actually dies peacefully, so at least there's that, and that's how the movie ends. And yeah, I think I like the message about this movie a lot, where it's about the standard beauty of, in Hollywood, or I guess in general, and there is an interesting moment about Elizabeth's character, because she's afraid of being alone now, because there is nobody was there for her, but she did met her childhood friend, from, I guess, from high school, where she met this one guy named Fred, and then Fred remembers her, and Fred still thinks that Elizabeth is still a beautiful woman, even though she's 50s, and there is this interesting choices for the characters there, where she decided to call Fred, because she knows that, oh, Fred is a nice guy, I would like to have a dinner with him, so I have someone, that loved me, and not being alone essentially. But she screwed that up, because she is basically not really confident on herself, because she's keep going back to the to the bathroom, and then just like putting makeup on her face over and over and over again, to the point that she doesn't necessarily match with Fred, and that's basically it for Fred's character. I guess he just never really used that well, but at the same time I understand why, because it's about Elizabeth just not being confident on herself, and if she actually goes out with Fred on this one night, then I think her life will absolutely change, and I think she might even terminate the substance program, because like the substance of voice basically tell her that, hey, you can terminate it, this program if you want to, but obviously because Elizabeth was afraid of being alone, she doesn't want to do that, but I feel like she actually goes out on a date with Fred, then her life problem will be solved, because these two will get together, because Fred still thinks that Elizabeth is still beautiful after all these years, and it's like a cute moment, between the two of them in the beginning, and it's just sad that Elizabeth just wasn't that confident on herself, and it basically leads up to this grotesque moment in the end of the movie, and it's very interesting that she actually make one choices there, that to go out with Fred, then her life will be safe, and she will have like a different life, she will at least have a happy life, like maybe she's not gonna do like her Hollywood job anymore, because she's 50s, but at least she's gonna have Fred with her, but that wasn't the case, and yeah, I think it just further shows that you need to be, I guess, like, again, you need to love yourself, like no matter how old you are, because like people have their time, people have their prime moments, where they were younger, they were like so beautiful and super sexy, and people love them, but I feel like if those people actually just like stop loving you because of your beauty, then, well, those people are not your friend, to begin with. I feel like actual friend never left you no matter what, and obviously Elizabeth Counter never experienced that. All the love that she experienced is basically just like from her beauty, from her fame, and that's it. The only person that actually loved her for who she was is actually Fred. And yeah, I wish that Fred has a bit more screen time than that. But at the same time, I think the character was actually used pretty well, even though he only has one scene, in the movie, like, and he's probably the only nice character to Elizabeth, and yeah, I love this movie, man. I think it's really weird, but also there is some satirical elements, and I think the satire basically came from Dennis Quaid character, because he basically played this like Hollywood boss character named Harvey, and every single time he was on the scene, like the scene just like becomes super hilarious, because the way Dennis Quaid play the characters are super over the top, and it was meant to be campy, and I laughed a lot, every single time he was on the screen, and even though like he was an asshole, I did find myself laughing, because his performances are so funny, and it was so campy, and yeah, it's great, and I also love the way this movie was directed, because I think every single direction in this scene was actually super intense and super chaotic, because this whole movie is super chaotic, so I think it really complement that with the cinematography and the directing itself, and also the sound design is absolutely amazing, because it focuses on a lot, like it's like an ASMR videos on YouTube, where someone are just like eating like a shrimp, like Harvey is like eating a shrimp on a restaurant, and then like the movie just like focusing on his eating sound, and it was like super disgusting, and I think there's also a lot of example where it's just like someone preparing a drink and you only heard the sound from inside the glass, so I think it has a lot of great sound design, and also I love the music, I think it has like one theme about the substance, and I think Rafferty, I think that's the name, the guy who composed the music. I think he did a great job, and he managed to create the substance theme that actually I think might be memorable in the future, and yeah, it's overall this is a great movie, it's a really weird movie, but it's also campy and also has some self-awareness, you have like great performance, great practical effects, great sound design, and I think also great music as well, and the directing and the camera work is also really great, to complement the chaotic elements about the movie itself, and yeah, I absolutely love this movie, so let me know guys in the comment section below, what do you guys think about the substance, and do you guys love this movie, or do you guys actually one of the people who didn't actually love this movie, because I understand that this movie is not for everybody, like what is your favorite practical effects in the movies, like let me know all that in the comment section below guys, and if you guys enjoyed this review, then make sure guys, inject that subscribe and like button guys, share the videos, the usual stuff, and stay tuned for more videos in the future guys, and again I hope you guys enjoy this movie review, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.